Yes, oh my god, India has just won the T20 World Cup. Oh my word, oh my days. What an incredible game, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, 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 wow. India has finally done it after such a long break. The last T20 World Cup that we won was the very first one in 2007, and we have done it once again after a 17-year wait. 17 years. Such an exciting game, such an edge of the seat thriller. Oh man, but India has pulled it off. I can't believe it, but India has done it. Oh man. Okay. Let's talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your new cricket fan channel, favorite cricket fan channel, Willow and Leather. This is Shravan joining you once again. Probably the happiest I've ever been since I started making one of these videos on this channel. Where do I begin? Where do I start? What an incredible game. What an incredible comeback. What an incredible team. The word team, I think, is exemplified by this group of gentlemen who have done what a lot of us thought was, improbable or impossible, but they have gone ahead and done it. 1.4 billion people dreaming about the country bringing back the World Cup once again, and this team has lived up to that expectation. Man, what an incredible game! Such a close, exciting encounter as well. But there you have it. India are the 2024 T20 World Cup champions, beating South Africa in an absolute classic encounter. We will get into the details of the game. But for me, this was probably, one of the top three. It ranks amongst the top three moments in Indian cricketing history, I guess. And it was probably in the top three ever best World Cup T20 finals as well. I think the inaugural World Cup where India beat Pakistan in that final. I think that's definitely up there, and I think the other T20 World Cup where Carlos Brathwaite took West Indies home, I think that was the other, one that comes to mind. But this game had it all. Absolutely fantastic. So let's get into the details of the game itself. In what was surprisingly a very batting friendly wicket, which we haven't seen much of at all in this tournament. So this was probably one of the best pitches to bat on. And No surprises, Rohit Sharma winning the toss and deciding to bat first made total sense when you have such a good batting surface and things aren't expected to change over the course of the 40 overs. It's a day game, no real concept of due in the second innings or anything like that, so it obviously makes a lot of sense to bat first and really put the score on the board, especially in a knockout game. In a final situation, you would always prefer having some runs on the board that you can hopefully defend later. Got off to a very, very weird start. Kohli looking really good from the first ball. I mean, that initial over from Marco Janssen, Kohli took, I think it was 3 boundaries in that over. I think Kohli kind of summarized it well in his post-match interview as well. I think, sometimes when God decides to, bestow you with something, nobody can stop it. And that's what it seemed like today. For a man who's been completely out of form, completely looking out of touch over the last how many games has it been now? 6 games that we played leading up to this final, or was it 7, 8 games? I think whatever it was. But someone who's not really looked in his in the best of touch. For him to get those juicy over-pitched half volleys, to be able to drive through the covers, straight back behind the bowler, flick one through mid wicket. You could just sense that it was probably written in the stars for Kohli to have a say in this game. And that's what it looked like. When Rohit Sharma started attacking Keshav Maharaj as well, he took him for two boundaries as soon as Maharaj came on. And you're thinking that, yeah, this pitch looks absolutely fantastic. We should be scoring well in excess of 180, if not crossing the 200 run barrier as well. And lo and behold, Rohit Sharma takes one chance too many in that over, and perishes to Maharaj. Where have we seen that side before, right? Immediately my mind jumps back to the ODI World Cup finals from last year. Kohl, Sharma facing Glenn Maxwell, takes him for two boundaries in the over, and despite that still wants to keep the attacking momentum going, and then eventually gets holed out, trying to go for another adventurous shot. This time around as well, having scored two boundaries in the over, Rohit Sharma decides to still keep his foot on the gas, and tries to fetch a ball which was way outside off stump, and still tries to sweep it, and absolutely bad fortune there to pick out Klaasen at square leg. Went fairly close to him, where Klaasen was just able to move a little to his left and get down to get that catch. But again, one of those things where it felt like, yeah, history is kind of repeating. Sharma, who's looked in exceptional touch, eventually finished the second highest run scorer in the tournament this time around. But someone who's been in that level of touch, trying to take a little extra risk, and in hindsight you can always say that, yeah, he'd already gotten two boundaries. Should he really have gone for the third one? But then again, that's the kind of tempo and pace that he's trying to set at the beginning of the innings, and it's not changed throughout the course of this tournament, especially since the Super 8 stages started. I think we've seen Sharma really pressing on the advantage and trying to keep that run scoring going. And today, unfortunately, it didn't come off. Which is okay, especially when it's the first wicket and the pitch looks good. You're well within your right to keep going on the offensive. But as soon as Rohit Sharma fell, in walks Rishabh Pant and manages to somehow get the leading / top edge on a full toss from Keshav Maharaj. So he's trying to go for a sweep, hits the bottom of the bat and just balloons up for the keeper to take it. And Pant is dismissed for a duck in the same over as well. You can call it bad luck, but then if you're missing out on a rank full toss, there's not much else to say there. I'm sure Pant would be feeling that frustration himself too. But in walks Surya Kumar. Virat Kohli on the other hand now was obviously he's seen two wickets go down, and he's trying to kind of play a mix of aggression and safe game as well, just because we have lost two wickets and it is a World Cup final, which makes sense to me. And then Surya Kumar Yadav, once again succumbing to a plan that was set up and well executed by a good bowling opposition. Kagiso Rabada knew exactly what he was planning to do there. In the power play, he had a deep fine leg, and bowls it slightly back of the length to lure Surya Kumar into one of his I don't know what you call that, his semi-pull, semi-ramp behind square, or trying to hit it over fine leg, but then that doesn't connect and ends up being holed out in the deep there. And at that point, you've as the Indian team, you've lost 3 wickets in the power play on a batting friendly pitch. And I was absolutely furious, to be honest. I'm looking at the likes of Rishabh Pant and Surya Kumar Yadav, crunch moments, crunch games. I understand the intent and the aggression, but then again, there are ways in which you can show your intent and aggression as well. At the end of the day, it is someone as experienced as Kagiso Rabada bowling on that end, and Surya Kumar Yadav, despite there just being 2 fielders out in the deep, he still decides to take that risk and tries to hit it in the vicinity of that fine leg player, or try to clear him, instead of trying to be a little bit more safe and careful in the shot selection. Now, I'm not asking him to be defensive, but he could have definitely picked a better shot, especially in the power play where you have a lot of options open. So if you're able to clear the infield, you are very much guaranteed at least a boundary. But then trying to go for a shot, which he's known to execute fairly regularly as well. But then this has happened a few times now where in those crunch moments or those crunch games, Surya Kumar is just trying to take a little bit of additional risk when he didn't need to. That's my whole point, right? If the team is in a comfortable enough position and you have that full license to go, I can totally understand that. But given at that point of time, he had a bunch of other scoring opportunities and scoring areas instead of having to take that risk. But it was what it was, and at the end of power play, India was 40 something for the loss of 3 wickets. And in comes Axar Patel, which I thought was a good move today, given we had lost those 3 wickets in the power play. Shivam Dube is not someone who's known for taking the attack to the opposition, especially against the Pacers and especially in the early part of the innings. Hardik Pandya, I think they're trying to reserve him more towards the later part of the innings, because Shivam Dube statistically has been a spin destroyer for the most part, but going in towards the death part of the innings where some of the pace bowlers come back and you need to get some quick runs at the back end there, I think that's the kind of role that they have reserved for Hardik Pandya. So it made sense for someone like Axar to be promoted up the order, and he played fantastically well. I think between him and Kohli, they stitched together a partnership which was very, very much needed at that point of time. And this is where Kohli kind of went into a shell and started trying to look for singles and doubles, not really taking too many risks at that point. I'm sure a lot of people would have questioned his approach and his intent as well. And I get it. I understand where that thought comes from. But I think given the situation, given the occasion, given the score and the number of wickets we had lost at that point of time, I think Kohli played exactly how he should have, especially between overs 6 and 12 or 6 and 13. I think he did exactly what was expected of him. And as long as they were building that partnership and Axar Patel was still able to get one boundary away every single over and still able to get the ones and twos to try and keep it at a 9 or a 10 run over, I think that was all that was needed at that point. You did not have to be ultra aggressive. You did not have to take too many risks at that point, knowing fully well that the person to follow next is Shivam Dube, who's not been in great form. Hardik Pandya is your only other bet after that, and you would prefer keeping him for the later part of the innings. And after that, you have Ravindra Jadeja, who's basically not done anything with the bat, not just in this World Cup, but I think for the last year or two, I think other than the finishing winning runs that he hit for his franchise in IPL last year, his contribution with the bat has been bare minimum. So given all of that, I think Kohli's approach was right, especially in between over 6 to 13. Post that, and let's just take a moment to talk about that Axar Patel run out as well. He would have been fuming as well, because the way he got run out, being so casual, looking behind the shoulder, trying to see if the throw is coming his way or not, and instead of just putting his head down and making it back into the crease, that was kind of amateur to some extent. But props to Quinton de Kock, who spotted that Axar Patel was a little further down than he would have wanted, and took that chance and took that chance on and hit the stumps. So props to de Kock for that. But Axar Patel, who was looking in fantastic touch, was the one who relieved a lot of pressure in the middle overs and kept that scoreboard ticking, keeping it close to 7.5 runs per over, sometimes close to 8 runs per over as well. And I'm sure he would have been kicking himself to get out in that fashion, but he made a fantastic contribution with the bat, 47 runs, and just went to show what value he adds to this particular squad and this particular lineup. Right, so anyway, so Virat Kohli obviously hunkers down and plays a fairly slow innings. But it is after overs number 13 or 14 is when I felt that he tried to cut loose, but then the bowlers, I think, were a little smart in the way they targeted him. If you saw some of those overs in the middle there, between 13 to 16, all the pace bowlers that came on kept it kind of a little back of the length, bowling it into his body, trying to force him to go for a hoik or a pull with a loaded leg side field as well. So that's where I felt, although Kohli was trying to cut loose, he was not able to. So the execution part of it in that 13th to 16th over mark wasn't there. Which meant that there was more and more pressure growing on Kohli, because he was almost down to like strike rate of 110 at that point. And even when he got to his 50, I think he got his 50 off 48 balls. So you're literally basically just scoring at a run a ball. Yeah, which is not enough in today's T20 context. But again, given the situation, I would take it just because of the conditions there with respect to where the batting team was, and knowing who was there to follow afterwards. Kohli losing his wicket within the first 10 overs or in the 12th over, for example, could very well have been the difference between a 175 score, which we eventually got to, versus a 150 or a 160 score, which definitely would not have been sufficient on this pitch. So I think Kohli took that chance. And this is something they probably would have discussed as a team to make sure that he kept one end going. Making sure that we had the cushion of having a few wickets later on in the final few overs to really take the attack to the opposition, and they would have probably calculated that maybe 175, 180 might have been a decent score, at least a competitive enough score for the bowlers to come and try and do something with it. Kohli did incredibly well to catch up and score some big hits later in the last 2 or 3 overs. Eventually, getting out, getting holed out at long on. Shivam Dube hit a few and then got out as well. Hardik Pandya and Jadeja were the two guys in the middle in the last over, but then they couldn't really get too many runs together, unfortunately, either. But one way or another, they kind of scrambled and put that innings together to take it to 175, which at that point I felt was a par score. Or probably slightly under par, just looking at the nature of the wicket. This is where I felt India definitely missed a trick, was to make sure that they kept a few wickets in hand early on. Given the quality of the pitch there, we could have easily caught up later on and really pushed towards a 200-ish score. But those early wickets up front in the power play, and especially it was hurtful because none of those were great deliveries that they got out to. Right, it was just some ordinary batting, some bad luck, and some poor shot selection, all of this that kind of led to those first 3 wickets falling in the power play, which kind of put us on the back foot. And from that point onwards, I think it was either going to be still continue attacking from both sides, but then you lose 1 or 2 more wickets and you end up at 150, or you kind of keep going steady for a while and then try and accelerate towards the end, which would hopefully take you to 175, 180, maybe 190 if things went really well. But ending up at 175, not a bad score at all. But yeah, just given the pitch, I think it was going to be a little different or a little difficult for the bowlers to defend. And then coming to the bowling performance itself, I think we started off very well, picking up those 2 wickets in the power play. Tristan Stubbs and Quinton de Kock kept the scoreboard ticking. Kept getting at least 1 boundary every over, and this is where I felt the spinners didn't really come to the party. And again, I don't know how much I can blame it on the spinners. It was just one of those pitches where not a whole lot of assistance for the spinners. But I think we could have done a better job pulling the length back just a little bit on a few occasions. But didn't really work out. And the South African batsmen, de Kock and Stubbs, were very smart in the way they were moving around in the crease, trying to upset the line and the length of the spinners as well. So, but anyway, Kuldeep went for a lot of runs. Axar Patel was going for runs as well. Tristan Stubbs eventually tries one trick too many and moves all the way across outside the stumps, exposing all the 3 stumps, and Axar just fires in a Yorker that hits off stump. So it was good that he got the breakthrough at that time, because he was going for a lot of runs as well. At that point, just before that over, I was sitting and wondering why Hardik Pandya isn't getting a chance to bowl yet. But lo and behold, as soon as Stubbs got out, the next over Hardik Pandya comes on. And then I think things were going along a little well. Then Quinton de Kock hits one over short fine leg for a boundary, and then the bowling just the bowler just decides to adjust the field and then moves fine leg to the deep, and then Quinton de Kock tries to play the same shot again, and this time gets caught out at deep fine leg. which was kind of reminiscent of how Surya Kumar Yadav got out in that first innings as well. Again, that shot from Quinton de Kock at that point was probably not needed. Just given he had gotten a boundary of the previous ball and the fielder had moved, and you probably should have been expecting a similar kind of ball. So instead of maybe trying to hit it along the ground and pick the gap, he tries to go aerial and then obviously doesn't clear the fielder and gets holed out in the deep. So that's where I felt like Quinton de Kock kind of handed the momentum back to India a little bit in that part. And by this time, Klaasen was getting settled into his innings. He had scored a few boundaries, just getting his eye in, taking on the spinners as usual, and had started feeling comfortable at that point. In comes David Miller, and between the two, things were looking all right. And at one point, South Africa needed 54 runs from 36 balls, 9 runs and over, which is not a lot, especially on a good batting track like this, with Klaasen already set there. And at this point, it really blew my mind that Rohit Sharma did not turn to Jasprit Bumrah to get that wicket that he needed at that point of time. Because at that point, Klaasen and David Miller is the last recognized batting pair out there. Yes, Marco Jansen was to follow, Maharaj, Rabada, these guys can all hit a few boundaries, and Marco Jansen in particular can be devastating with the bat sometimes as well. But you knew that if a wicket came in that particular over, in the 15th over, things would very well be in your favor and in your advantage. So I think he definitely missed a trick by not bringing on Bumrah and instead bringing on Axar Patel. Up to that point, Axar Patel had already conceded quite a few boundaries in the 3 overs that he had bowled. Kuldeep Yadav had just finished his spell for 45 runs, 4 for 45 with no wickets in his bucket. And Klaasen is out there looking as comfortable as possible against the spinners as well. Now, it is one thing if Axar Patel's bowled a couple of good overs and he is troubling Klaasen. But once Klaasen gets his eye in, I would not bowl a spinner no matter what's happening on the other end. You have to bring in pace bowlers to try and get that Klaasen wicket, because once he gets his eye in, he is the best batter against spin going around in world cricket for the last 2 years. Especially on a wicket that is not offering too much help for the spinners. That was a huge gamble to take at that point. Especially, it was a bigger gamble because at that point, Hardik Pandya had just bowled 1 over. So he had the luxury of bowling Hardik Pandya for that over as well. It wasn't like Axar Patel had to finish his spell. Axar Patel had bowled 3 overs already, but he didn't necessarily have to bowl the 4th because we had Hardik Pandya to bowl a few overs as needed as well. So that was the really baffling thing for me. The fact that Rohit Sharma decides to bring on Axar Patel and Klaasen just decides to unleash himself on to Axar Patel like nobody's business. He eventually went for 24 runs in that over. I think he went for 2 sixes, 2 boundaries, a couple of wides, a double. Everything was happening in that over. But at the end of all of that carnage, from 54 required of 36, South Africa has now reached 30 needed from 30 balls with 6 wickets in hand. Klaasen well settled, having scored a 50, almost close to a 50. David Miller is in there as well. He's hitting the ball around, not having to do anything else except give the strike to Klaasen. So South Africa are 4 wickets down, needing 30 from 30 at that point. And at that moment, I'm like, yeah, game is done. What else do you do? 30 from 30 is absolutely like a walk in the park. Yes, Bumrah had a couple of overs, but still, they could have easily navigated those 2 overs and still scored the required runs from the other 3 overs as well. Even if Bumrah's 2 overs went for just 5 or 6 runs in total, they could have still gotten the 20-25 runs in those remaining 3 overs from the other bowlers. So predictably enough, afterwards, in the 16th over, Bumrah comes on, bowls a very tight over, just concedes 4 runs, so now it is 26 from 24 balls. Sharma was, I'm sure, thinking about what are his options, and I think it made sense for him to bring Hardik Pandya on at that point. Interestingly enough, there was a small break just before that over started as well. I think Rishabh Pant had some sort of an injury, so he was working with the physio, taping up his knee and all of that. So that kind of was an interesting point because it felt like India were trying to slow things down a little bit deliberately as well, just trying to cut that momentum that Klaasen had built over the last few overs before that. Lo and behold, Hardik Pandya comes on, first ball, he keeps it a little back of the length and wide outside off stump. Klaasen decides that no footwork is necessary and just tries to hit that ball through covers and ends up just nicking one through to the keeper. That, I think, was an important breakthrough, a very, very critical moment of the match, especially in that second innings. There were like three moments in the second innings which are crucial. One was the de Kock dismissal, then obviously was the Heinrich Klaasen dismissal. Because Klaasen, all he had to do there was just wait for the right delivery in his hitting arc to go after it, and just kept milking singles and doubles. Because you had David Miller at the other end, and he can hit a fair distance as well. So that's where I think South Africa would feel that they missed out on a couple of tricks there. De Kock getting out at the worst possible time, Klaasen having done all that hard work in the previous few overs, just throwing away his wicket as well. So at that point, Hardik Pandya is bowling, and then in comes Marco Jansen. They somehow get through that over. Hardik Pandya bowls a really good over, and they get through it. And I think it was 21 or something needed of the last 3 overs, and then obviously it was at that situation where Bumrah needed to come in again. Comes in, picks up Marco Jansen, fantastic over. All Miller can do is take a single. Keshav Maharaj faces the last 2 balls, just gets a single of the last ball. So suddenly now we are looking at 19 runs from 2 overs, and Maharaj is on strike. So now you have to make sure that you can get a very strong 19th over as well. So between Hardik Pandya and Arshdeep, Sharma goes with Arshdeep, which again was the right decision. Arshdeep bowled a fantastic over as well, just giving 3 runs. Brings David Miller on strike for the final over. 16 needed of 6. Hardik Pandya comes in to bowl, and that first ball pretty much decided the tournament for India and for South Africa. He bowls a genuine thigh-high full toss, well outside off stump, definitely in Miller's hitting arc, and Miller just hits it so high. The ball just keeps on traveling, and I'm looking at it on TV and just thinking, man, this is well outside the boundary ropes. But surprisingly enough, it doesn't carry. It is just close to the boundary rope, and Surya Kumar Yadav, what an incredible effort to make that catch happen. Catching the ball very, very close to the ropes, having that presence of mind to toss the ball up, his momentum carrying him outside the boundary, and then takes a couple of steps back in to complete the catch. Under that situation, under those kind of pressure circumstances, to pull off that kind of a catch was absolutely mind-blowing. So, Surya Kumar, bro, whatever you did in the batting innings is all forgiven, thanks to that one genuinely fantastic piece of fielding effort in the deep. That, I think, pretty much sealed the game for us. Had he missed that, or had he not, put in that effort to even get to that ball in the first place, instead of 16 needed from 5 with a new batsman on strike, it would have been 10 needed of 5 with Miller on strike, having just hit a boundary and having just hit a 6, and, full of confidence at that point. The absolute game-changing moment. I think that one delivery kind of decided the fate of that game. It's funny how that happens. Having played the game for almost 40 overs, it's just 1 or 2 such small moments towards the death that can completely, change the fortunes. There you have it. After that, Hardik Pandya bowled a pretty tight and solid over. Rabada got an outside edge that went for the boundary and all of that, but between Maharaj and Rabada, all Hardik Pandya had to make sure was that he doesn't give them any balls in the slot in their preferred scoring arc, and we were always going to cruise through at that point. Eventually finishing with a 7-run victory. What an incredible comeback. From needing 30 of 30 with 6 wickets in hand, South Africa somehow have managed to lose by 7 runs. So they basically just scored 23 runs or 22 runs in the final 5 overs. I don't know. I try and kind of keep the commentary that I do, fairly um, respectful, which I usually do, and I'm always doing that. But I don't think it is unfair to call South Africans as chokers at this point, right? I mean, this is something that this tag has kind of stuck around with them for ages now, and for obvious reasons. I think anytime they're in those crunch games, knockout games in an ICC event, they just seem to find ways to fumble things up, and obviously they've had some very bad luck in some of their previous games in history as well. But despite all of that, I think just being so close and still fumbling it up, I think yeah, it's very, very unfortunate for South Africa that they do not make it over the line. But India barely by the skin of their teeth, despite some questionable captaincy decisions in the field today, and despite some poor shot selection in the early part of our batting innings, I think they've managed to pull off this victory. And I think India were this close to inheriting the title of chokers from South Africa. Had this game gone the other way, I think India as a team, such a strong powerhouse when it comes to the game of cricket, producing talent left, right, and center. I think we probably have like 3 squads full worth of players who can play at international level and compete with some of the best teams in the world. For a country that produces that level of talent, for us to have gone, what is it now? Was it 2013 when we last won the Champions Trophy? So yeah, I think it's been 11 years since we won any ICC event. That's actually very shameful when you think about it. But today they've held their nerve. I think just having been in those crunch moments previously, knowing what to do, I think definitely gave India an edge towards those end moments there compared to South Africa, who found themselves in uncharted territory. They had never made it to a World Cup final before. But one way or the other, India have scrambled their way to a second T20 World Cup title. What a satisfying feeling if you're an Indian cricket fan. I think just the way things unfolded, the way we all thought the match was kind of gone, dead and buried, but then the way the bowlers made a comeback, absolutely fantastic. And I think, eventually well deserved winners of the trophy. I'm very, happy, ecstatic, and proud as an Indian cricket fan to be able to say that, this team was something else. It was absolutely special. And yeah, if you've noticed my jersey as well, this is a very old Indian team jersey that I'm wearing. Still has the, it has the sponsorship from Sahara, so it's been a long time. But this jersey, I pulled it out specifically for today's game. It's a jersey that I bought, I think, before the 2011 ODI World Cup. I wore this through that World Cup as well, wearing it to the stadium in Bengaluru for that India-England game in 2011, which ended in a tie, one of the most exciting matches I've ever witnessed. But then even, all the way through that World Cup, through to the finals, sitting and wearing this jersey every single day. So it is a lucky jersey for me. The ODI World Cup last year, I ended up watching it in back home in India, and unfortunately I forgot to pack this jersey, so I had a new jersey on, which didn't prove to be as lucky in the finals. And I'm someone who believes in a lot of these things, superstitions kind of run trick through our family, especially when we're watching a game of cricket when India is involved. We're all sitting together at home watching, and we're not moving even an inch because we feel like a certain position is lucky or whatever. But anyway, so I'm just happy that this lucky shirt proved to be lucky once again. Super excited as a fan for us to be winning this World Cup. Let's just talk about some of the individuals again. What a fantastic story for our pacers. Jasprit Bumrah, man of the series. What an incredible performance from him. Rightfully without any doubt, the best bowler of this era, the best bowler in this generation, and he's able to do it across formats, across venues, no matter what part of the world you put him in. He's someone who has just kept growing from strength to strength, and what an exceptional talent he is. And his ability to read the game, the sense of calm and cool that he has, and the execution of the plans that he puts in place. Hats off to the guy. By far getting close to being India's best ever bowler, arguably at this point in India's history. Someone who's so bankable, going at 4.6 or 4.7 economy all through the entire tournament. That's not a joke. Yes, there have been some bowler friendly pitches all through the process, but what an incredible bowler, what an incredible talent. And I think we should all feel very proud and lucky to have someone like him in our team, and what an incredible performance. So yeah, hats off, Jasprit Bumrah, well done, all credit to you. Let's also talk about another player who had a major role to play towards the end, especially today, Hardik Pandya. What an incredible World Cup he has had. With the bat, not getting too many chances. Last game he hit a couple of incredible sixes, probably the flattest sixes I've ever seen in a long, long time. But besides that, he's not had a chance to make too much of an impact with the bat. But he earns his place into this team as a genuine all-rounder, and when he's in that kind of a bowling rhythm, when he's able to stay fit and continues bowling like that, he is worth his weight, not just in gold, in probably diamonds as well. He is such a rare talent, provides so much versatility to the team, so much flexibility to the team. It is because of someone like Hardik Pandya being available that we were able to have that luxury of dropping someone like Mohammad Siraj and bringing in an extra spinner into that attack. And yes, the spinners didn't fire today, obviously, but in the lead up to this final, in the Super 8 stages, in the semi-final as well, it is the spinners who have done most of the damage. And Kuldeep Yadav, Axar Patel, what an incredible performance and a World Cup he has had. Especially the semi-finals, picking up those 3 key wickets. Absolutely fantastic. Today, scoring such valuable runs with the bat, coming in at a position that he's not usually familiar with, but still, putting his hand up, getting those crucial boundaries and keeping that partnership going was an absolutely champion effort from him. So credit to those guys as well. All of these guys chipping in and making sure that it was not a one-person effort to win this World Cup. But yeah, just another moment to talk about Hardik Pandya. I think we've all seen what he's gone through over the last several months. Ever since the injury he picked up in that ODI World Cup, I think his stars have misaligned. His confidence has been low. Things have just been going downhill for him ever since that, right? I mean, he was such a crucial loss for us heading into the later stages of the ODI World Cup as well, and we dearly missed him. The guy got trolled a lot for missing an entire tournament because of an ankle injury. It was a freak injury, but it was what it was. Misses out, and then all the controversy around his move back to Mumbai Indians, the captaincy change, all the fans booing him, his own fans booing him. Absolute nightmare of a time that he's had. To still have that mental fortitude to come into this World Cup and to do what he did across multiple matches, multiple key matches, absolutely champion effort from him. So, hats off. Lot of respect for the guy. Hopefully nobody boos him in the future. Look, at the end of the day, he might have made a controversial move to a different franchise or a club, but still doesn't justify the fans booing him. He is well within his right to make that move. I kept saying that I think the biggest culprits in that whole move were the Mumbai Indians management. if they had the common sense to take Sharma into confidence and have, his thumbs up before making that official change in captaincy, I think things would have gone down a lot smoother for them. But whatever it is, it was very unfair that Pandya got a lot of criticism for that move. But hopefully this silences everyone, and the fact that he has won and brought a World Cup home for the country should make fans realize what kind of a player he is, and genuinely show him some respect for all the work that he's done. He deserves it. Right, two more people to talk about. Firstly, Virat Kohli. Let's talk about him. What a moment to score some valuable and crucial runs for your team. Yes, it was not the most quick fire innings that we've seen from Kohli, but given all the factors around it, firstly, the fact that he was completely and woefully out of form, just being able to hit form in such a crucial game in the final, and that in itself is takes a lot. But in addition to that, he started off very, very aggressively, but the moment those 3 wickets fell, I think he made that perfect decision. And again, it's just not him. I'm sure it's the whole leadership core group that kind of assesses things and wants to take things a certain way. And I think Kohli played like the perfect innings. Yes, he could have accelerated a little bit more after the 13th over, which I felt like he was trying to, but it was just not coming off. But the fact that he put his hand up and kind of stayed through from start to almost the end was exactly what was needed. And we've seen this time and time again. Crunch matches, knockout matches, you need those experienced players to be around. Even if you're not like in devastating form, even if you're not in scoring at such a quick rate, just having that presence on the field during those moments, I think makes a world of difference. And I think that innings of his today, especially after the loss of 3 wickets, I think that innings of his was probably the difference between what could have been a 150 score, a 175 score, or a 200 score as well. I think the way he approached the innings ended up being a 175 score, which I thought, it's a par score. I think given the bowling strength that we have, I think it makes sense. But what a moment, what a time to come to the party. Picks up the man of the match award. Fair enough. I would absolutely have no issues if Hardik Pandya was awarded the man of the match as well, or even Jasprit Bumrah for that matter. So there were some definite contenders, but Virat Kohli, absolutely fantastic innings, well-deserved man of the match award as well. And a well-deserved T20 World Cup for him too. His first. The guy has pretty much given his blood, sweat and tears for the country for the last 15 years now. He's done it all. He's won the ODI World Cup back in 2011, won the Champions Trophy as well in 2013. This was the one trophy that he would have really wanted, the T20 World Cup. I think this was his 6th World Cup, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm so happy for him as an individual as well to be able to take this trophy home. It would have been, and again, there is no fairness or unfair when it comes to this, but if there are a few players who deserve to have World Cups under their belt, this guy is definitely right up there. But it is what it is. It is a team sport, so you might have played exceptionally well over the years, but if the team doesn't come together as a unit, things just don't work out. And on the flip side, this time around we saw Kohli was in absolutely poor form, but it was the rest of the team around him that pulled the team through those initial stages, Super 8s and the semi-finals. But yeah, when it mattered the most, Kohli put his hand up and got those crucial runs for the team. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. With that, he did announce that he is retiring from T20 internationals. Bittersweet moment. I personally am a Kohli fan, but I think makes sense. The next T20 World Cup is happening 2 years from now. So I think he's picked the right moment to retire, just because of all the talent that is there in the country, I think this might be a good time for them to start stepping in, so that the team can kind of build the squad towards Project 2026. So yeah, I'm personally very very happy for him that he's finishing with the trophy. It'll suck, not to have someone like Virat Kohli in the team. I think watching cricket, look, he is obviously still around for the ODIs and for the tests, and he's probably made that conscious decision because taking attention away from T20s will allow him to focus more on test cricket and on ODI cricket. But at the end of the day, any format that Virat Kohli retires from, I think the game is poorer for it. These are once in a generation kind of players. Because of IPL, obviously there are a lot of different fan bases and fan camps, so there are always going to be people who will criticize Kohli or even Rohit Sharma, even Mahendra Singh Dhoni for whatever reasons, right? But at the end of the day, I think we are incredibly blessed to have a player like Virat Kohli. It sucks that he's retiring from T20 internationals, but I think the time is right for him. Obviously it is great that he's finishing on a high and taking the trophy home. But I think, as he mentioned in the post-match presentation, I think he was going to do it irrespective of how this result went. I think he's made up his mind, which is fair. Gives the youngsters an opportunity to take this format forward, while Kohli hopefully can focus more on ODIs and especially on Test cricket. I think he has some unfinished business in Test cricket, so hopefully this gives him that luxury to focus on those two formats and really gives him that longevity to play for another 2-3 years minimum for the country, and try and do a few things there as well. All kudos and credit and congratulations to Virat Kohli on an incredible T20I career as well. I'm hoping he'll still stick around with RCB for a few more years. That might be the only place to watch him play T20 cricket anymore, but it is what it is. Very very well deserved. GOAT for a reason, comes to the party in the finals, and I'm very happy for him as well. Last man to talk about, Rohit Sharma, the captain himself. Not his best day in the field, both with the bat or with the captaincy decisions today. But for me, outside Jasprit Bumrah, I think Rohit Sharma probably was the next best player of the tournament for India. Eventually finished as the second highest run scorer for the team of the tournament, and it just showed incredible leadership, incredible attacking mindset with the bat as well. Which is why I didn't feel so bad when he got out today, because he was just doing what he's continuously been doing through the tournament. And that innings that he played against Australia in the Super 8s was probably, I think I mentioned this in my previous video as well, I think that was his best T20I innings that I've seen, and it brought back memories of the 200s, double hundreds that he was hitting in ODIs for fun during a certain period of his career, which is peak Rohit Sharma, right? Absolutely fantastic effort from him to lead this team, especially after that devastating loss in the finals of the ODI World Cup in November last year. To still, come back, rally the troops, mostly the same players, but with a few key changes. To be able to take that team and build such a consistent team. Yes, at the end of the day, if we would have lost this finals, it would have been another, traumatic experience for us fans and players alike. But the fact that he's put together this unit which knows how to win day in, day out, I think that is the true testament of his success. It's great that he's finished with the title, but the fact that they went on an unbeaten run all through this tournament, they went on an unbeaten run all through the ODI World Cup as well, eventually losing just in the finals. But that shows the kind of squad that he wants to build, the kind of players that he wants around him, who will make sure that they give him that level of consistency which you want to see from a team like India. Exceptional role in taking this team to where they are now. Over the last 2-3 years, I think it's been an incredible journey for him, leading this team. Ever since Kohli gave up the captaincy, and Rohit Sharma took it on, I think there's been an incredible change in the way the team approaches things. Exceptional, people leader, exceptional human being, exceptional cricketing talent. Hats off to him as well. Rohit Sharma also announcing his retirement from T20 internationals in the press conference after the finals today. Another bittersweet moment. Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli having played their last T20I for India. Very, very bittersweet. All I can be happy about is the fact that they ended on a high. They do go back with the trophy. Sharma with the second T20 World Cup. He was the only other player who was around in that 2007 squad. To win his second one this time around under his leadership, especially after that traumatic loss in the finals of the ODI World Cup last year, to himself personally to be able to pull himself out of that and come back and build a squad and again to compete for this World Cup, that in itself shows his character. But to do it with such quality and such skill and such enthusiasm, absolutely hats off to him. Well deserved once again, hitman. Very, very proud of everything that he's achieved for the country as well. I think as cricket fans, the game itself is poorer because of guys like Kohli and Sharma leaving. But in those places, hopefully we will get some newer promising talents. There is so much talent right now waiting in the ranks to come into this team and make some positions their own. And hopefully this is the beginning of an era. It's definitely the end of an era when you think about Kohli and Sharma, but hopefully it's the beginning of an era where we go on a run and start really dominating teams and competing for trophies very regularly. We have been doing that for a long time, but being able to win those crunch matches and actually bring some trophies home, I think that's something that we will have to focus on. New era of cricket coming for BCCI and for the Indian cricket team, which also reminds me to maybe spend a minute or two talking about one more man whose tenure with the Indian cricket team ends after this, which is Rahul Dravid, head coach. Again, someone who's been through the highs and the lows, both in his professional cricketing career as well, but now more so in his coaching role. Someone who's incredible as a people person, and I think that is probably one of the key things that you need as a coach at that level. When you talk about techniques and skill level improvements and all of that, I think there's a lot of that happens behind the scene with some of the assistant coaches, and for a lot of players playing at this level, to be honest, there probably isn't too much in terms of changes in technique and skill that you need to be focusing on anyway. So for someone who's coaching the team at that level, I think it's more just about the mental strength, strategy, tactics. Those are the kind of things that come to the fore when you're coaching for a country like India. But he's done that job effectively, very, very well. Again, he would have also been gutted after missing out on that ODI World Cup trophy last year. But absolutely incredible effort from him as well to keep that great culture going within the team. And I think between him and Rohit Sharma, they formed an excellent partnership to be able to get the right kind of players that would be needed and to make sure that this team competes against the best and is able to dominate on certain days against quality teams as well. So that's pretty much all you can ask for. The last missing piece was that killer instinct to go all the way and finish with the trophy, which they have done. So absolutely incredible performance from all three of them, Kohli, Sharma and Rahul Dravid. Wishing them all the best, obviously. Time for a change in the direction that the cricket team heads in. Gautam Gambhir coming in as the new coach. Guys like Kohli and Sharma going out, which means very likely Hardik Pandya will be the new captain for the Indian cricket team. Remains to be seen what kind of a team he builds and what kind of a culture he brings. But if some of his IPL stints are anything to go by, I'm sure he will be building a very successful team as well. And same thing goes for Gautam Gambhir too. He's a taskmaster for the most part, and is known to be very blunt and very aggressive. But I think makes sense to have that kind of a personality in the dressing room as well. So it'll be very exciting to see how T20 Indian cricket kind of shapes up over the next year or so. That will give us a fair idea of what kind of exciting talents we can look forward to. But having said that, once again, very very happy, ecstatic, relieved by the fact that India have won the T20 World Cup. It's still very hard for me to put it into words, but yeah, I think it's a long time coming. Fitting farewell for the likes of Kohli and Sharma as well. And yeah, if you're an Indian cricket fan, enjoy this moment, savor it. It's well deserved for all the patience that we've had to show, all the agony and frustration we've had to go through as fans over the last several years. I think this is the moment to take it all in, savor it, and enjoy it. And then, we'll come back again soon. Thank you so much, folks, for joining and catching me on these updates that I'm making every once in a while. The IPL is out of the way, the T20 World Cup is out of the way, but next up on my list of tournaments to cover is the Major League Cricket, which is happening in our own backyard. A bunch of matches happening in my own town here, Morrisville, North Carolina. I'll be attending those, watching most of the games in person that are happening here. So I'll probably share some action from the matches as well. But I'll definitely be making more videos around those games too. So stay tuned. Thank you once again for joining. This is Shravan with Willow and Leather. I will catch you in the next one. Until then, enjoy this moment, enjoy the celebrations, and catch you later. See ya.